presentation. We got photosynthesis showing, so let's do photosynthesis to start with. I'm just getting this set up so you don't have to start recording just yet. You can if you want. You can get bloopers if you want. It's fine.
Bloopers? Go away. Bloopers.
All right, everybody ready? Remind me to show you something with the before we go on after this. Remind me to show you something with the textbooks over here, by the way. Okay. This is photosynthesis. Photosynthesis takes place in the chloroplast of cells, namely plant cells, but some other stuff like bacteria and fungus as well. We're going to start with the electron transport chain, which takes place in the thylakoid membrane of the chloroplast cell. First thing that's got to happen is we've got to bring some water in. So here's my H2O molecule. And when light hits the pigments in thylakoid, mainly chlorophyll, but there's a couple of them, the light causes the water to split. The oxygen that was once part of the water is just going to get ejected out of the cell. Meanwhile, the electron that was part of the hydrogens in the water is going to be moved over to the electron transport chain. And it's going to activate these proteins, drawing hydrogens across the membrane. And now we're at an unequilibrium. Hydrogens want to get back to equilibrium. The only way they can do so is by sliding through ATP synthase. And every time they slide through ATP synthase, an ADP is attached to a phosphate to build an ATP. Do it again, make another ATP. We're still not at equilibrium, 4 and 2, so we gotta do it one more time, make another ATP, and now we're at equilibrium. Now, sunlight hits the chlorophyll again, and this time the chlorophyll simply ejects the electron out of the thylakoid where it meets up with an NADP to form NADPH. That's the end of the light reactions. We have used energy of sunlight to convert that energy into energy molecules like ATP and NADPH. And now it's time for the Calvin cycle. Calvin cycle takes place in the stroma of the chloroplast, and it begins with 3 molecules called RUBP. Each one is a 5-carbon molecule. The cell is going to breathe in 3 molecules of carbon dioxide. And it is going to take all of the carbons in the RUBP and the CO2, and it is going to rearrange them into 6 3-carbon molecules. Each of these 3-carbon molecules is called a p-gal. To do this requires a lot of energy, and so we're going to get rid of some ATP's energy and some of the NADPH's energy in order to make this happen. But it's okay, because we got all those things from the light reactions, so it was free energy anyway. Now that we've made these p-gals, one of them is going to leave the cycle. The remaining 15 carbons are going to be rearranged back into those original 5-carbon molecules called RUBP. Again, it takes more energy to do this. We do the whole process of Calvin cycle all over again, and eventually we get a second p-gal out of it. That second p-gal combines with the first p-gal, and it forms a glucose, which is the final product of the Calvin cycle, and that is the end of photosynthesis.